What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. League of Legends is a great game, it really is, and I love it so much, but every now and then, there's always something that makes me go, Riot, please, that we wish was really in the game, and unfortunately tends to be long overdue. As we count down the top 10 overdue changes to League, we'll be measuring them by how important they are to the game experience as a whole. And I do have to give at least a little props to Riot and say that most of these are confirmed to be coming in the future, albeit really slowly. Anyways, let's get started. At number 10, I'd like to have account-wide settings. The other day I went over to my friend's house and we were getting super pumped up to play League together, and we go into a game and the first thing I see is, oh, I have to change all my settings again. And so I spent the first 5-10 minutes or so of the game stressing out while trying to play and tweak my options until I can find the best fit for me. Having computer-wide settings causes it to be clunky and annoying to switch computers when you play League, since you have to change all of your key bindings and options and everything if you go play League on a different computer, which can get pretty annoying sometimes and hurt the experience that you might get at an internet cafe or at a friend's house. Next at number 9, I'd like to get a better death recap. Let's be honest here, the current death recap is extremely buggy and just flat out wrong most of the time, so that even when it is right, you really aren't going to trust it, and so the feature ends up being pretty much useless. Death recap and being able to see what you die to is a totally awesome thing that can really influence and give you a lot of information for how you should construct your item build, but the fact that the feature is currently super buggy and unreliable is really unfortunate, and I'd really like to see it get fixed. At number 8, I'd like to see more item diversity, and more specifically, just a lot more viable items in general. Riot took a great step towards this with the jungle items, and I'd like to see the same thing done with the rest of the lanes. Some might say that this isn't that necessary, which is why I ranked it fairly low, but true item diversity brings a lot more strategy to the game, and I've seen loads of champions come and go based on items that were in the spotlight. Item diversity gives the players a lot more choices and options, and really opens the door for different champions to succeed. Especially when they aren't that strong in the meta, a new item or two can really give them an awesome boost. For number 7, I'd like to see a Sandbox game mode. Having a game mode with customizable settings for things like unlimited cooldowns and being able to edit things like starting gold, EXP rates, you name it, would be really helpful to practice mechanics, matchups, and other really important aspects of the game. Right now it's quite hard to practice specific mechanics since you have no freedom in custom games at all, and so setting up drills or specific situations can be very difficult. And so because of that, it's hard to get specific perfect practice in, since you might be trying to improve on something that only really comes up a couple times a game, like team fighting. So it might take you as much as 100 games to learn what you want to, whereas if you could set it up quickly in a custom game with some friends, you could practice it loads of times in just an hour or so. So a sandbox mode would make it really easy to practice a lot of things in the game. A few community sandbox modes have popped up here and there, but they were all really buggy and tended to be single player only, as well as being extremely difficult to install, so I'd like to see Riot's take on it. At number 6, I'd like to see the rework of runes. Right now the runes are an absolutely huge barrier to entry for a new player and often go totally ignored since new players only get so much IP and runes are way too expensive to purchase, and you often need to spend 30,000 IP on runes before you can start heading into ranked, since the stats from runes are so significant. The current rune system is really unfair to new players and even still way too grindy for veterans that I'd like to see them cost less, be purchasable by RP, and overall be a lot more generous to the players, if not rework the entire system as a whole to something completely different. And at number 5, I'd like to see a new client. The current Adobe Air client is loaded with bugs, constantly ruins the out-of-game experience, and just flat out crashes a lot. Adobe Air is an outdated software for this kind of thing, and I'd really like to see Riot create their own client from scratch to make it easier to work with and fix bugs whenever they crop up. There was a community-based client once that looked to be extremely promising actually, but Riot did shut it down, so I really want to see them make their own client. And at number 4, I'd really want a way to deal with Champion Select trolls. Right now, if someone trolls in Champion Select, especially in Ranked, it really sucks since you can't do much other than to dodge and lose some LP. And let's be honest here, you should never be forced to give up some of your hard-earned LP because of some troll in your game. Riot claims that a system that does this may be abusable, but I honestly believe that it's totally worth it. They need to take the power away from the trolls, and being totally helpless when faced with someone like that is a really bad experience and something that I'm sure each and every one of us really hates. Next up at number 3, I'd like to see some East Coast US servers. This one doesn't affect that many people, myself included, but for those living on the far east coast of the United States, League of Legends is pretty much unplayable for them on the NA server due to some extremely high ping numbers, which really sucks if you live there, and having such high ping shouldn't be that big of an issue, and there's nothing you can do about it if you live in that area. However, I do know for sure that this one is definitely coming soon, so hopefully things will get better. At number 2, I would really like to see replays added to the game. League of Legends is arguably the most competitive video game in the entire world, and the fact that we have to rely on third-party programs for replays is honestly so ridiculous and really obnoxious at times. Third-party replay programs tend to be very buggy and super complicated, and I've seen so many other games have client-based replay systems, and being able to watch your own replays reliably is so important to improving as a player, and is a must for any game with a competitive scene. And the fact that League doesn't have them is honestly just ridiculous. However, Riot has claimed that this is linked with the server issue, so hopefully we should see them coming soon. And at number 1, I would really want to see a way to deal with disconnected or AFK players. We've all had those games where we really pump ourselves up, load up into the game, only to find out that one of our teammates does not connect and we have to play 4v5, and it sucks. It sucks big time and is easily the worst thing about League of Legends and really ruins the experience at times. A way to deal with that by being much less punishing to the connected players is extremely important and frankly kind of embarrassing that League doesn't have. If someone disconnects, you shouldn't have to wait such a long time for the game to end, nor should you be punished so hard for the loss, or at all really. It's totally unfair and really off-putting because there's always going to be players that disconnect. Sometimes stuff just happens, your internet blows out, maybe you get an emergency and you have to leave the game, and that's just how it is. So there's always going to be disconnects. But a disconnected player should not mean that the other players who showed up lose 20 LP and are stuck in a game for 20 whole minutes. It's just so lame and so unfun to play in 4v5s, and so I'd really like to see Riot do something about them. And that just about wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.